Chosen one, when God said, I will make you famous, He was speaking to the very core of your destiny. Fame in God's vocabulary is not the same as the fame the world chases after. The world wants applause, attention, and self-exaltation, but God's fame is about revelation, transformation, and exaltation of His name through your life. When the Lord lifts you up, it is not to show how great you are, but to reveal how great He is. And the very first reason God chooses to make you famous is because He has placed a divine assignment on your life that requires visibility. Think about it. When David was an unknown shepherd boy, nobody cared about his songs, his prayers, or his battles with lions and bears in the wilderness. But the moment he stood before Goliath, God used that stage to announce him to Israel. David didn't chase fame, David chased faithfulness. He was faithful in the hidden fields, and because of that, God could trust him on the visible battlefield. That is the principle for every chosen one. When you are faithful in private, God will make sure your life becomes a public testimony. This is why the first reason God makes His chosen ones famous is not for their ego, but for their assignment. When God gives you a calling, that calling is not meant to remain hidden forever. Light cannot be hidden under a basket. It must shine for all to see. If your life was only meant to impact you and your family, then obscurity would have been enough. But because your destiny is tied to nations, because your obedience will unlock the freedom of many, God says, I will make you famous. Not because you are chasing it, but because your assignment demands it. Abraham is another example. God told him, I will make your name great, and through you all nations will be blessed. Notice the connection. His name had to be great so that his influence could reach nations. Greatness in God's hands is not about pride, it's about responsibility. Abraham's fame was not a crown to boast in, it was a platform to deliver blessing to generations. In the same way, chosen one, when God makes your name known, it is because He has placed something in you that cannot stay hidden. You carry a word, a gift, a testimony, a fire that must be heard, seen and experienced by others. Do not mistake this for worldly celebrity. The world's fame rises fast and falls faster. It is built on fragile foundations, beauty, talent, money, or manipulation. But God's fame is built on eternal truth. It is a fame that echoes through generations. Look at Moses. He was once a fugitive, hiding in the desert, forgotten even by himself. Yet when God called him, He did not just send him back as an ordinary man. God made his name so famous that even Pharaoh had to acknowledge his God. And today, thousands of years later, we still speak the name of Moses because his fame was anchored in the will of God. Chosen one, you must understand this clearly. Your obscurity is temporary. Your hidden season is only a preparation. Do not despise the days when nobody sees you, nobody claps for you, and nobody knows your name. Those are the fields where God trains your hands to war and your heart to worship. Those are the nights when He shapes your character, humbles your spirit, and aligns your motives. Because the moment He places you in the spotlight, He wants to ensure you do not crumble under the weight of attention. Fame without character destroys, but fame with God's hand delivers. That is why the process is long, but the promise is sure. So, when God says, I will make you famous, take it as a prophetic guarantee that your assignment will not die in silence. He will make sure the right ears hear your testimony, the right eyes witness your breakthrough, and the right hearts are touched by your journey. Your life will become a message louder than any sermon, a letter read by all men, declaring the goodness of the Lord. Chosen one, do not fear the spotlight, do not fear the stage, and do not resist the rise when it comes. For the same God who trained you in secret will uphold you in public. And when the world begins to know your name, remind yourself daily, it is not about me, it is about Him. If they speak my name, may it only point them to His. If they celebrate my rise, may it only remind them of His power. And if they follow me, may they find Jesus Christ, the true King of glory. God said, I will make you famous for one reason only, so that your assignment cannot be ignored, your testimony cannot be silenced, and His glory cannot be hidden. Walk boldly in this promise. Chosen one, for your season of obscurity is giving way to visibility, and when God lifts you up, no man, no system, and no devil will be able to bring you down. Chosen one, when God says, I will make you famous, the second reason is because He wants your life to be a living testimony of His power. God never blesses you just for yourself. He blesses you so that the world around you will see, believe, and know that He is the Lord. Your rise is not a private matter. Your breakthrough is not for your household alone. God makes you visible because He intends for your story to carry His name into places your voice has never reached. Think about Joseph. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison. For years he was invisible, hidden in pain and rejection. But when the time came, God lifted him from the prison to the palace in one day. Suddenly, the whole of Egypt knew his name, but his fame had a divine reason. It wasn't for Joseph's comfort or pride. It was so that nations could be fed during famine, so that his family could be preserved, and so that the covenant promise of God would continue. Joseph's fame was a testimony that God raises the humble and uses the broken. That is the kind of fame God is speaking over you, chosen one. He will make your life a stage where His goodness is displayed. When people see how far He has carried you, they will not say, "Look what you did." They will say, "Surely the hand of God was with them." That is why your testimony cannot remain hidden. That is why your trials had to be public, so that your triumph would also be public. God will not allow the enemy to shame you openly without later honoring you openly. What the devil meant for evil, God will turn into evidence that He still reigns. Daniel is another example. When he was thrown into the lion's den, it looked like the end. His enemies thought they had silenced him forever, but God shut the mouths of the lions, and when Daniel came out alive, his fame spread across the empire. Even the king declared that Daniel's God is the living God. Notice again, Daniel's fame was not about him. It was about the God he served. His survival became a testimony that no power can destroy the one whom God has chosen. In the same way, your survival, your breakthrough, your victory will become the evidence people need to believe in your God. You may not see it now, but every struggle you endure is building a testimony. Every tear you cry is preparing a story that will lift someone else. God will use your scars as proof that healing is real. He will use your weakness to display His strength. He will use your failures to show His forgiveness. And when He makes you famous, it will not be for your glory, but for His. You will become a walking sermon, a living altar, a moving testimony that points people to Jesus Christ. This is why the devil has tried so hard to silence you. This is why he wanted to bury you in obscurity, in fear, in shame. Because he knows that if your story ever gets out, it will break chains, heal hearts, and inspire faith in countless lives. But chosen one, the devil has failed. He could not kill your destiny. He could not erase your calling. And he cannot stop the testimony that God is about to broadcast through you. The very places where you were mocked will be the places where you are honored. The very mouths that cursed you will have to admit, truly, the Lord is with them. Do not despise your journey. Do not hide your scars. Do not be ashamed of what you went through. For those very scars will speak louder than any sermon. Those very wounds will testify of God's healing power. Those very valleys will magnify the glory of the God who brought you out. And when He makes your name echo, it will not be for vanity but for testimony. You will be living proof that God is still in the business of miracles. Chosen one, the second reason God said, "I will make you famous," is because your life is a testimony the world needs to see. Your story is not just about you, it is about Him. When He lifts you, it will be impossible to deny His hand. When He blesses you, it will silence every doubter. And when your name is spoken, it will not end with you. It will end with Him. You are about to be famous not for your glory, but for the testimony of the living God that shines through you. Chosen one, the third reason God says, "I will make you famous," is because your elevation is meant to silence the voice of the enemy. Every generation has voices of doubt, voices of unbelief, voices of opposition that rise against God's people. The enemy loves to mock, to belittle, to declare that you will never rise, that you will remain small, that you will never fulfill the destiny God has spoken over you. But when God decides to make you famous, He does it to prove every liar wrong, to shut the mouth of the accuser, and to establish before the world that His word never fails. Think of Hannah. She was mocked by her rival because she could not bear a child. Her barrenness became the subject of ridicule. Year after year, she was reminded of her shame. But when God answered her prayer and gave her Samuel, the mocking turned into silence. No one could laugh anymore because God Himself had lifted her head. And Samuel grew to be one of the greatest prophets in Israel. And through him, Hannah's name was remembered. Her fame was not born out of striving, but out of God's vindication. That is what the Lord is about to do for you. The places where you were laughed at will be the places where God proves His faithfulness. The story of Esther carries the same truth. She was an orphan girl, unknown and overlooked, but chosen by God for a divine assignment. Haman, the enemy of her people, plotted their destruction. He was confident in his power, arrogant in his authority, and certain that God's people had no defender. But God lifted Esther, placed her in a position of influence, and used her to silence the voice of the enemy. Not only was Haman defeated, But Esther's name became known throughout the kingdom. Her fame was tied to her obedience, and through her, the enemy was put to shame. Chosen one, God is saying that your rise will be the answer to your enemy's mockery. Every voice that said you will not make it, every tongue that declared you will remain forgotten, every critic who doubted your calling will be silenced when the Lord places you on the stage He has prepared for you. Your fame will not be built on your striving, but on God's vindication. He will lift you so that no one can deny His hand upon your life. And when people see you elevated, they will know it is not by might nor by power, but by His Spirit. Remember the story of Job. He lost everything, his health, his wealth, even his children. His friends accused him, his wife told him to curse God and die. Job became the target of whispers, gossip, and scorn. But when the trial was over, when God restored him, He gave him double what he had lost. And the very people who mocked him had to acknowledge the greatness of God in his life. Job's story was told and retold as evidence that God vindicates His servants. That is why God makes His chosen ones famous, to silence the enemy and exalt His name. In your own life, the attacks and the ridicule, the gossip and the rejection you have endured were not the end of the story. They were the setup for God's public vindication. The enemy thought he could bury you in shame, but God is about to raise you in honor. The very voices that laughed at you will be forced to confess, surely the Lord has done great things for them. Your rise will be undeniable proof that God never abandons His chosen. Do not fight for revenge. Do not waste your energy proving yourself to people. Your assignment is not to argue with your critics. Your assignment is to stay faithful while God prepares the stage. For when He makes you famous, you won't need to say a word. Your life will speak louder than any argument. Your testimony will silence every accusation. Your fruit will cancel every lie. Chosen one, the third reason God said, I will make you famous, is to silence the voice of the enemy. Your rise is not only for your blessing, it is for God's vindication. Every tongue that rose against you will be silenced. Every hand that pointed in scorn will have to acknowledge His power, and every doubt will be swallowed by undeniable proof of His glory in your life. So hold your peace. Remain faithful, and watch as God turns your ridicule into recognition, your battles into breakthroughs, and your shame into a shining testimony that cannot be denied. Chosen one, the fourth reason God says, I will make you famous, is because your influence will open doors for others. When God lifts you, it is never only about you. It is always about those connected to you, those assigned to your destiny, those waiting for your obedience to unlock their freedom. You see, in the kingdom of God, fame is not a selfish spotlight. It is a divine key. God raises one so that many can walk through. He elevates you so that you can elevate others. Your life becomes a door, your story becomes a bridge, and your obedience becomes a pathway for those who come after you. Look at Joseph again. His rise to power was not just for his personal vindication. It was so that he could preserve his family and feed nations in famine. If Joseph had not been lifted, countless lives would have perished. His influence became a shelter for many. That is what God is preparing to do with you. He will make your name known not because you need applause, but because someone else needs access. He will give you favor in high places, not because you are seeking recognition, but because others are waiting for the door you will open. Consider Moses. God raised him in Pharaoh's house, gave him influence in Egypt, and later sent him back to demand freedom for his people. Moses' fame was not about him being great in Egypt. It was about him having a voice that Pharaoh could not ignore. His position became the instrument of deliverance for Israel. In the same way, God is preparing to raise you, chosen one, so that your voice cannot be silenced, so that your influence cannot be denied, and so that others can be set free through your obedience. Esther too is a perfect picture of this truth. She was elevated to queen, not for luxury, not for prestige, but for the survival of her people. For such a time as this, she was made visible, she was given access, she was placed in the palace. Her fame was her assignment, her position was her weapon, and through her obedience, a whole generation was spared from destruction. Chosen one, when God makes you famous, it will not be because you asked for it. It will be because there is a people waiting for your courage, a generation waiting for your yes, a nation waiting for your obedience. This is why your fame matters in the kingdom. Influence is a currency. God places you where eyes can see and ears can hear so that when you speak, people listen. Not for you, but for Him. Not to build your kingdom, but to advance His. Fame in the world isolates, but fame in God connects. He raises you to be a channel, not a container. What flows to you must flow through you. When God makes your name echo, it is because He intends your testimony, your wisdom, your resources, and your faith to reach further than you could ever go alone. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of your influence. A single decision to obey God can ripple through families, through communities, through nations. Your rise is someone else's rescue. Your platform is someone else's lifeline. Your stories is someone else's confirmation that God can still do the impossible. This is why the devil has fought so hard to keep you small, to keep you hidden, to keep you silent. Because he knows that if God ever lifts you, your impact will multiply. He fears the doors you will open, the chains you will break, the lives you will inspire. But the devil has already lost. For the same God who placed Joseph in Pharaoh's palace, Moses before Pharaoh's throne, and Esther in the royal courts, is the same God preparing to raise you into influence for His glory. Do not shrink back when the spotlight comes. Do not disqualify yourself thinking you are not worthy. God did not choose you because of your perfection. He chose you because of your surrender. And when He makes you famous, it will not be for vanity but for victory, for the countless lives attached to your destiny. Walk boldly, chosen one, for you are not rising alone. Many will rise with you. The fourth reason God said, I will make you famous, is because your influence will unlock doors for others. Your visibility is their access. Your elevation is their breakthrough. Your platform is their protection. This is not just about you. It is about the multitudes tied to your obedience. So when God lifts you, remember this: you are not standing on that platform alone. Behind you are generations, families, and destinies waiting for your faith to open the way. And when you rise, they will rise too. Chosen one, the fifth reason God says, I will make you famous, is because He wants to turn your pain into a platform. Nothing you went through was wasted. Every betrayal, every rejection, every disappointment, every silent tear that fell when no one was watching, it was all preparing you for the stage God has designed. Fame in God's kingdom is never built on ease. It is always forged in the furnace of affliction. The very things that almost destroyed you will become the very testimony that lifts you. Think about Joseph once more. His pain was deep. Betrayed by his own brothers, forgotten in prison, falsely accused, left to rot in chains. Yet when God lifted him, that pain became the platform for his promotion. The same brothers who sold him had to come and bow before him. And Joseph declared, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good, to save many lives. His fame was tied to his pain. His platform was born out of his suffering. God made him famous not despite his trials, but because of them. Look also at the life of David. Before he was king, he was hunted like an animal by Saul. He hid in caves, he wandered in wildernesses, he cried out in despair. Those psalms we read today, the ones that still heal broken hearts, were written in those dark seasons. David's pain became his voice, and his voice became his platform. His fame was not in his crown, his fame was in his worship, in his songs, in his testimony of a God who delivers from the lion, the bay, and the giant. Even today, thousands of years later, David's fame still echoes, born not of luxury but of suffering and faithfulness. And what of Paul? Beaten, shipwrecked, imprisoned, mocked, stoned, rejected. If anyone carried scars, it was Paul. Yet God used those scars as proof of His grace. Paul's letters, written in chains, traveled further than his feet ever could. His pain produced words that became eternal. His trials became his testimony, and his testimony became his platform. Today his fame is not in his suffering itself, but in the Christ who sustained him through it. Chosen one, your life will follow the same pattern. Do not despise your pain. Do not curse the trials you had to endure. They were not sent to break you. They were sent to build you. The crushing you endured was not to destroy you, but to release the oil that God placed within you. Grapes must be crushed to release wine. Olives must be pressed to release oil. Gold must be refined in fire to shine pure. So too, your pain has been the process through which God prepares your platform. And when God makes you famous, people will not just see your success, they will see your scars. They will not just admire your glory, they will marvel at your story. For your fame will not be hollow. It will be rooted in real pain, real battles, real victories that testify of a real God. You will be able to say, I know He heals because I was broken. I know He provides because I was in lack. I know He saves because I was lost. I know He restores because I was shattered. Your platform will not be built on theories. It will be built on testimony. The enemy hoped your pain would silence you. He thought your trials would bury you. But God has turned your wounds into weapons and your scars into songs. Where you were once ashamed, you will now speak boldly. Where you were once silent, you will now roar. And people will listen not because of your strength, but because they will see the God who carried you through the fire. Conclusion, chosen one, the fifth reason God said, I will make you famous, is because your pain is not wasted. It is your platform. What you thought would kill you will become the very evidence that lifts you. Your scars will shine brighter than any crown. Your testimony will echo louder than any applause. And when the world sees your eyes, they will know this truth, that God is still able to turn mourning into dancing, sorrow into joy, and ashes into beauty. So lift your head high, for your pain has prepared your platform, and your platform will proclaim the glory of the one who never left your side. Chosen one, the sixth reason God says, I will make you famous, is because your life will become a light in the darkness. This world is broken, heavy with confusion, and drowning in hopelessness. People are desperate for direction, for hope, for someone to show them that God is real. When the Lord raises you and makes your name known, it is so that you can shine as a beacon in a world full of shadows. Your life is not meant to blend in. It is meant to stand out, to draw eyes upward, and to point hearts back to Him. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. That is the picture of divine fame. A city on a hill does not need to announce itself. It is seen by all simply because of its position. In the same way, God will lift you to a place where your testimony cannot be hidden. Your life will shine not because of artificial lights or worldly platforms, but because His glory rests upon you. People who sit in darkness will look at you and find hope. Those who are lost will look at you and discover direction. Those who are weary will look at you and find strength. Think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When they stood before the fiery furnace, their refusal to bow to idols made them a spectacle. They were cast into the flames, yet the fire could not consume them. And when they walked out unharmed, their fame spread throughout the empire. But that fame was light. It turned the eyes of a nation toward the God who saves. Nebuchadnezzar himself declared that there was no other God who could deliver in such a way. Their fame became a flame, igniting faith in the hearts of thousands. That is the kind of fame God is preparing for you, chosen one. A fame that is not about your personality, but about your purity. A fame that is not about your power, but about His presence. When He raises you, it is because the world needs to see the light of Christ burning through you. The darker the world becomes, the brighter your testimony will shine. And the brighter you shine, the further your influence will spread. Consider Daniel once more. He was a man of prayer, set apart, consistent, unwavering. Even when laws were written to silence him, he refused to bow. When God delivered him from the lions, his fame was not about Daniel, it was about the God who heard him. His life became a lantern in Babylon, a pagan empire filled with idolatry. Through him, kings acknowledged the true living God. That is the same mantle God places on you. Your obedience in private will lead to influence in public, and your fame will illuminate nations, not with your brilliance, but with His glory. Chosen one, never forget that fame without light is meaningless. The world has many celebrities, but very few examples. Many are known, but very few inspire. Many are celebrated, but very few transform lives. The fame God gives you will carry weight because it will carry truth. People will not just admire you, they will be drawn to the God inside you. And when they hear your words, they will not just hear stories, they will hear salvation. Do not fear the responsibility of shining. Do not dim your light to make others comfortable. Do not shrink into the shadows out of false humility. God did not choose you to be hidden. He did not call you to blend in. He called you to shine. Your life is the candle He has lit, and no power of hell can extinguish it. And when He places you on that hill, when He makes you visible, remember that every eye watching is not watching you. They are looking for Him. So shine boldly, chosen one, because your light will guide multitudes home. Conclusion, the sixth reason God said, I will make you famous, is because your life is meant to be a light in the darkness. Your visibility is not for vanity, it is for vision. You are the city on the hill, the lamp on the stand, the testimony that will not be hidden. And when the Lord lifts you, your light will pierce the darkest nights, your influence will awaken faith in dry hearts, and your name will become a signpost pointing to the name above every name. Shine, chosen one, for the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Chosen one, the seventh reason God says, I will make you famous, is because your fame will be proof that He still reigns. In every generation, God raises witnesses, living evidence that He is not a silent God, not a forgotten God, not a powerless God. Your life is about to become that evidence. When God makes your name known, it will not be for empty applause, it will not be for shallow recognition, but it will be a divine declaration to the world that the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jesus Christ is still alive, still moving and still in control. The world is filled with voices that deny God. Some say he is dead. Others say he is irrelevant. Many mock his word, dismiss his power, and treat his promises as ancient stories with no weight today. But then God points to his chosen ones. He raises a Joseph from a pit to a palace. He takes a David from the fields to the throne. He takes an Esther from obscurity to royalty. He takes a Paul from prison to apostleship. Their lives become the undeniable evidence that God reigns. And that chosen one is why he will make you famous, so that your life becomes proof no one can argue with. When God healed the blind man in John chapter 9, the Pharisees were furious. They tried to discredit the miracle. They interrogated him, questioned him, doubted him. But the man simply said, "One thing I know, I was blind, but now I see." His testimony was undeniable proof. His healing was his fame, and his fame was God's evidence. The Pharisees could argue theology all day long, but they could not erase the living proof standing in front of them. That is what your life will be: undeniable evidence of a reigning God. Your rise will be God's response to the doubts of the world. Your breakthrough will be his rebuttal to unbelief. Your success will be his statement to every mocker. People will look at you and realize that no human hand could have lifted you that high. They will see your story and know it could only have been God. And through your life, he will silence arguments, crush doubts, and reveal his sovereignty. Think about Elijah on Mount Carmel. The prophets of Baal called on their God all day, but nothing happened. Then Elijah prayed and fire fell from heaven. In that moment, Israel fell on their faces and cried, "The Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God." Elijah's fame was not in his own power, but in the undeniable demonstration that his God still reigned. Chosen one, when God makes you famous, it will be as if fire falls again. People will not worship you. They will worship him because of what he has done through you. This is why you cannot shrink back. Your fame is not a reward for your effort. It is a weapon for his glory. It is God saying to a doubting world, "I am still here. I am still powerful. I am still king." The devil cannot stop this, because your rise is not about you. It is about the reputation of heaven. And when heaven decides to prove a point, no power in hell can resist it. Chosen one, prepare yourself. When God places you on the stage, when he gives you the microphone, when he opens the platform, remember the reason. Your fame is not about you. It is his banner lifted high. People will come to you with questions, with curiosity, with amazement, but your task will be simple: to point them back to him. When they ask, "How did you get here?" you will answer, "It was the Lord." When they wonder, "How did you survive?" you will testify, "It was his hand." And when they marvel, "How are you shining so brightly?" you will declare, "It is his glory, not mine." The seventh reason God said, "I will make you famous," is because your life will serve as proof that he still reigns. Your story will silence atheists. Your rise will answer skeptics. Your breakthrough will testify louder than any sermon. You are the evidence he has chosen for this generation. When the world sees you, they will know God is not finished, his power has not diminished, his throne has not shaken. Chosen one, walk boldly into this promise, for your fame will not end with you. It will echo the eternal truth. The Lord, he is God, and he reigns forever.